Today is the 10th of July 2016, and this is the second part of Tammy's Celtic Cross spread that was answering the question about what is your future with the tarot. Let me mention first, though, that the tarot site that I mentioned, the tarot course, is up and running, and the URL is johns-tarot-course.com, and I'll tell you a little bit about it at the end of the video. So in part one last week, as it happened, we saw that we looked at the first 5 cards in Tammy's spread. So the atmosphere surrounding the question was the Queen of Pentacles opposed by the Hanged Man. The foundation was justice. What's passing away was the 9 of Pentacles, and the King of Swords was what was in the 5th position, showing what may come. And in this video, I'm going to consider the other 5 cards in the Celtic Cross. And we're going to start with card number 6, which is what will come, the card for the future. And it was the reversed 5 of Cups. So the card in the 6th position, it shows what will, it's a contrast with the 5th, because the 5th shows what may come, and the 6th is what will come. And it shows what you're going to have to go through, whether you like it or not. And that can be an important consideration during a reading. So the 6th card shows the future in some way, and we can think of it as what's coming up next, right, or what's coming up soon, rather than showing what's going to happen a year from now, or maybe 2 years from now, because that kind of time period can be important with some questions. So it's a bit like what the questioner has to deal with next, right? No matter what the question is. So maybe it describes what's going to happen or what's going to be going on next week, or it's going to describe the kind of situation you'll be going through between now and the end of the month, or whatever the time period would be. You know, so because sometimes you can know the time period from the questions, because if it's a Monday and somebody wants to know about something that's supposed to happen on Friday, then the card for what's coming up next, or the 6th position, that's maybe going to show what's going to happen on Tuesday or Wednesday, right? Because we know that the final outcome is Friday. So sometimes from the question that's been asked, you can figure out what time period is going to be covered by the card in the 6th position. So Tammy got the reversed 5 of Cups. And I mentioned at the end of last week's video that if you're doing a reading and you aren't sure what to say about a card, you can always ask yourself if you're happy to see that card there in the question. And then you think, okay, I'm happy to see it. Why? And then you explain to the questioner why you're happy. Or if you look at the card, you think, I'm not happy to see that card there. In explaining to the questioner why you're not happy, it gives you something to talk about, and you're going to explain the meaning of the card and what it points to and how to deal with the situation that it shows. Right, so if you get stuck, think to yourself, am I happy or not? And if you're happy, why? And if you're not happy, why not? And that's a good general rule, I think, for doing a reading. But I was thinking about this point during the week. And I remembered that some people, and I thought of some people that I know, and these people, they like chaos and drama in their life. And a lot of the problems that they've got are totally self-created. But they kind of like it, like that, chaotic and dramatic, because it makes them feel alive, right? So if there's drama, then they don't have to think about where they're going in their life or what they're going to do with themselves, because they're always putting out fires. So they seem to be alive, but in many ways they're living, but, you know, it's not, you have to wonder, are they actually going anywhere? So somebody like that could look at the Tower, somebody with that kind of outlook or that way of living could look at the Tower reversed and be happy. And they could give a positive interpretation that things will go well. But they have a very specific version of going well that's not the same as most people. So when you look at a card and ask yourself if you're happy to see it, you're really asking yourself, how much does this card help the questioner go in the direction they want to go in? right? So if they're looking for love and romance, generally, then a court card can be a card that you're happy to see there, right? Or if you see the sun, you're happy. Or if you get the lovers, or the 2 or the 6 of cups, or the 10 of coins, which these cards all show pleasant situations, people getting along with each other, and happiness one way or the other, or celebration, right? So in somebody wanting to know about a romantic situation, then you would be happy to see those cards there. But again, if somebody wants to know about love and romance, and you get the 3 of Swords, or the reverse Tower, or the 10 of Swords, these are cards that don't show cooperation and friendship and happiness. So you would look at them and you wouldn't be so happy to see them there. So you have to then think about how to talk to the questioner about how to deal with things that aren't going their way, or that aren't going the way that they want. So Tammy has the reverse 5 of Cups for what will come. And it's a good idea to remind ourselves of the question every time we turn a card, just because it will keep us on track. So Tammy's question is, what is her future with the tarot? And we've got the 5 of Cups reversed for the future. So we might think that her next experiences with the tarot might be draining, right? Because the cup is upside down and the contents are going to pour out, right? So it can be draining. So Tammy ought not to be surprised if she has a few bad experiences with the tarot, because 3 cups are overturned. But looking at the card, there are 2 cups remain, so it's important for Tammy not to get carried away with what isn't working, like the 3 overturned cups, but to realize that 2 cards are upright. So if things go wrong, it's not that everything is a total disaster, even if it feels that way. Because you can do a reading and you're disappointed that you didn't quite understand what was going on, and it can feel really majorly difficult. But so if Tammy experiences that kind of feeling, it's important to remember that it all depends on what you look at or what you see as important. So, Shakespeare's, there's nothing good and nothing bad, but thinking makes it so. So Tammy should remember that things don't always go as planned, and it's okay if they go wrong. So an obstacle in the road means that you go around it. It's not that you're on the wrong road. You don't get carried away and think, I'm going in the wrong direction, or I'm on the wrong road. It's just an obstacle, so you go around it. So when Tammy has doubts, as she probably will with the 5 of Cups reversed in the future, or if she has a bad experience, whatever that might mean for her, then that's the kind of thing that happens, right? And it's going to happen more than once. So look at the situation and learn from it, rather than being downhearted or dismayed by it and think that you're doing the wrong thing and you're never going to get it. The 7th card, that shows the questioner in the present. And Tammy is represented by the Strength card upright. And this is good. So we can be happy about this. And so we can talk to Tammy, or Tammy can talk to herself about her, understand that she has basic strengths when it comes to reading the tarot or making sense of it. So we can think about, or she can think about, or we can talk about her abilities and what she brings to the table. Or maybe it's in her character and personality already there and active that's going to make her a good reader or a good student of the tarot. So if we look at the picture, we see a woman closing the mouth of a lion, right? So we can take from that gentleness, right? She's closing the lion's mouth gently. And so gentleness and quiet confidence are going to get results. So if we're doing the reading for Tammy, we might at this point think of an example from our own lives where we were faced with some difficulty. And I'm using that because we had the 5 of Cups, the reverse 5 of Cups a moment ago. So we're talking about difficulties. So we think about an experience that we had and how we relaxed and didn't tense up and that produced results. So we tell Tammy that story of her own experience. She can see the truth of gentleness getting results. And it can be something that she remembers or she relates to in a moment when she has doubts about her ability with the tarot. Also, it's a lion, and the lion is the king of the beasts, as they say. So lions can represent ego, right? The woman's closing the lion's mouth, and that can mean that Tammy controls her ego, because her ego wants its own way, or that her ego and all of our egos want their own way, or want their own small way, right? Because egocentric behavior is kind of small. It's personal and it's for us, but it really doesn't involve the bigger picture. It doesn't involve other people. So by seeing the strength card there for Tammy, it looks like she's not going to have to deal with ego problems the way a lot of people do. And this is something positive she can take from the reading. The 8th card shows the influence of other people. And again, this looks good, partly because it's an ace for a new beginning, and I kind of like aces and new beginnings because it's a fresh start, and the past doesn't have to control you. If you've got an ace, you can move on confidently and brighter, and you don't have to be held trapped by the past. So we've got the Ace of Cups. It's an ace for a new beginning, and it's cups. And the question's about reading the tarot, and cups represent cooperation and love and enjoyment of people. And that seems quite appropriate for a question about reading the tarot. And this idea of new beginnings can work both ways. So it can mean that Tammy helps people make a new start or get new insight into how to deal with a situation. That's a new start as well, new insight. And at the same time, it can work the opposite directions, because other people are going to encourage Tammy to keep going and to keep making fresh starts, or to start again if she gets down on herself. And again, I'm remembering that reverse 5 of Cups. So other people being represented by an ace, right? It can mean that they also recognize that when we're in the beginning stages of something, we aren't expert yet, right? We're just beginning. So people are going to understand if Tammy isn't sure what to say, or if she gets something wrong, because they're going to know the reason for Tammy being wrong or not being sure what to say is lack of experience and not lack of ability. And that's the problem. She's new to the subject. And they know that as time passes, Tammy's going to get better at reading and making sense of cards. So the card in the 9th position shows the questioner's hopes and fears. And Tammy got the reverse 6 of Cups here. So she thought it pointed to lack of confidence, but she wasn't quite sure what to do with this particular card. So since the question is about somebody's future with the tarot, then this card can refer to recurring fears or doubts. Recurring because it's a long-term project, right? So it can be recurring fears or doubts that the person is going to have about the tarot or about cards or about their own ability. So it can point to or show something that's going to undermine Tammy, or that's going to bring some negative idea into her imagination. Because hopes and fears, it's up here. It's not like the hope, what we hope for and fear hasn't happened yet, but we've got a picture in our mind and we turn it into something much bigger than it actually is usually. So the card shows a couple of people getting along with each other, right? But it's upside down, it's reversed. So this can mean that Tammy can be afraid that she's not going to get along with people, right? So she can maybe imagine that they won't always react well to her and to her interpretations. So that's one possibility for the 6 of Cups. Or it may be that if the 6 of Cups can represent relationships generally, right? So it may be that Tammy thinks at this point she's not going to be good at or qualified to deal with questions about relationships. And she won't be sure what to answer if somebody says, tell me about love and romance, or tell me how to improve a relationship, whether it's romantic or otherwise. And Tammy's going to think, what do I know about this? Or how can I answer that? Or I'm not going to be able to answer or to do a good job with this. So if we take the first idea that she won't get along with people, that's just something you have to learn. Because if you think of it, if you're in a room with 50 people, there's probably going to be 2 or 3 people that you naturally connect with, right? Think about gatherings you've been to. There's 2 or 3 people you like the look of and you'd like to spend some time with. Most people we can nod to and be polite, but that's it. They come and they go and we don't pay much attention. And there's going to be some people, 2 or 3 probably again, that we can't stand, right? We just automatically dislike them for no good reason, or they say or do something that rubs us the wrong way and we want to avoid them, right? So you get 50 people and we accept that most people we don't have much to do with. Some we connect with, some we don't connect with. And that's normal. And maybe Tammy has to apply this kind of understanding to the situation she's going to come across with the tarot. Maybe most readings are going to be kind of matter of fact. She can take them or leave them and, she answers the questions and then moves on. There's going to be a few, though, that she feels quite connected to or that she enjoys more. So if she does a reading and doesn't enjoy it that much, it's normal. The 6 of Cups reversed. So with the second idea to do with the 6 of Cups reversed, it can mean that Tammy, if she does feel that she's not that qualified to answer questions about relationships, then it's time for her to do some reading about relationships and find out what people and researchers have thought or have discovered about people and their behavior. And then she can develop some general ideas about how to fix relationships or how to recognize typical problems and the best way to deal with them. So if somebody talks to her about they're having a bad relationship, she's got some ideas. She already has possible solutions in mind that she can pass on to the questioner. So the reading is more productive. And the reading has a better chance of leading to improvement in the life of the questioner. So I already have ideas for myself about the kind of thing I would suggest to people, but I would recommend and suggest anybody who looks at the writings of Vernon Howard. He's very good on people. But Tammy can just go and explore and see what she finds out. Then the 10th card, the final outcome, was the High Priestess. Okay, upright. And this looks good. And again, we can look at this card to be happy because Tammy wants to become knowledgeable about and good with the tarot. And the High Priestess knows what she's about. She knows what's going on. She's going to give good advice. She can explain what to do and why to do it. And she just generally knows stuff, the High Priestess does. So this is what Tammy can look forward to. So the final outcome is the High Priestess. Tammy may not be, she may not be that confident tomorrow, but give it a few months and she's going to be somebody worth consulting for a tarot reading. Okay, that was something about a Celtic Cross. And if you'd like to add something or comment, leave a message down below in the comments. And the thing is, with this particular question, you can come back to it after a month or after 6 months and look again at the cards, and you're going to discover you're able to do an awful lot more with them. Or if it was your question, you're going to see how much more you understand because of the developments that have taken place in the meantime. Your understanding has grown. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the Tarot course site is ready. And the URL is www.gohns-tarot-course.com. There are videos on all the cards, as well as videos with some exercises to get to know cards, a couple of demonstrations of spreads, Celtic Cross and horoscope spread, and so on. And there's also the beginnings of a question and answer section with new and additional information, all about reading cards. If you're watching this video and you already bought the course, email me and I'll register you so that you can join and get access to the new material. Because as I mentioned last week, I don't have complete records anymore of who bought, and I've lost some email addresses and so on. So that was that. I'm thinking there's going to be a new video next week, though I'm not sure what it's going to be about, but I'll think of something. So in the meantime, have a good week until I see you again. Okay, bye-bye.